Trump says he's great at deals.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. How will you know that? Because that's what I do. I make deals. Because that's what I do. I make deals.
But this time, well, judging by his face, this one's a bust.
That we haven't quite got there. A couple of big ones, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal.
Trump tried to assert dominance over Putin from the outset. But Putin didn't seem intimidated, even implied that Alaska was once part of Russia.
There is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin.
Just an observation, Mr. Putin, but are you being just a tad too sensitive, saying such sensitive things at such a sensitive time?
We're separated by the Strait of Bering, though there are 2 islands only between the Russian island and the U.S. island. They're only 4 kilometers apart.
Don't know if President Trump felt any discomfort, but Putin's words made me reconsider something another party said, which now doesn't look quite right.
Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
Well, the ocean might not be that nice, but Putin's affection for Alaska did make people feel nervous.
Hey, old buddy, your fighter jets are quite cool, huh? How about let them taste of my nuclear missiles?
On the Ukraine issue, Putin showed no intention of compromising.
The Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. The crux of the matter to understand this history is precious. Naturally, the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well.
Well, Putin thought, historically and naturally, Ukraine has been his brother. So he complained that his Western neighbor's interference in the little tiff between him and his brother.
We need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict, and we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole.
And this time, the other party seems to have been right.
Today, he knows that we have all the world knows that we have meeting, yes? Why he's using ballistic? Putin today using ballistic on our hospitals, schools, and it says ballistic. So he knows that we are here and that President Trump is really have goodwill to stop this war. And you hear now the president. So why he's using? So he doesn't want to stop. He doesn't want.
What was Putin really after with this visit? We know that this big boss brought some buddies to Alaska.
I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss.
It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible.
So the boss's logic is to make business with the country who is sanctioning his business.
Huh?
Unlike the other party, who just doesn't know how to butter President Trump up.
In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful.
Putin played to Trump's ego by publicly showering praise on the Trump administration and bashing the Biden administration in front of the cameras.
And in the end, I would like to add one more thing. I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake today when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that.
But President Trump still felt their relationship was too cozy and inappropriate for trade.
Good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all. But we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax. But what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with.
On the progress of a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, the next key event is the conversation between President Trump and President Zelensky tomorrow.